Yeah, it's not, there we go. All right. Well, thanks, Karen. Welcome and thank you all for joining us today. As Karen mentioned, my name is Justin Hager with Montana Specialty Mills. We operate a couple of oilseed processing facilities here in Montana, but today I'll just be focusing on our new oilseed crush facility here in Great Falls. If I can get it to advance. I guess that's your request remote control. Sorry about that. All right. Montana Specialty Mills has over 40 years of experience in oilseed processing, from non-GMO canola to flax, safflower, sunflower, cranberry, camelina, and organic canola. We started construction on our new facility in the fall of 2017, and I've spent the past couple of years working out on getting all the kinks worked out of the new plant. We currently focus on non-GMO canola, organic canola, and flax. We have the capability to keep all our oil and meal identity preserved and have a crush capacity of approximately 125 tons of seed per day. Our on-site refinery allows us to refine, bleach, and deodorize the oil based on the specific requirements of our customers. I've included a few pictures in today's presentation of our new oilseed crush plant. Here you can see an aerial view of our seed, meal, and loadout bins, as well as a picture of our oil tanks and rail and truck receiving and loadout areas. On the next slide, you'll see a few pictures inside the plant of our crush equipment and prior to oil being sent over to the refinery. Here we have some of our holding tanks inside the refinery prior to the finished oil being sent out to the exterior holding tanks before it's shipped out either by rail tanker or truck tanker. Since organic canola and flax have always been two of Montana Specialty Mills' main staples of process, and the fact that they're both non-GMO, it only made sense for Montana Specialty Mills to transition into non-GMO canola as well. We are non-GMO certified through the Non-GMO Project, as well as SQF certified, kosher, and organically certified. We currently serve a variety of markets, from food to feed to industrial oil customers in the retail, confectionery, condiment, and industrial paint and oil sectors as well. Our customers range mostly across the domestic US with a little bit of export business as well. Our on-site refinery allows us to produce high quality, ready to eat oil, meeting the needs of our customers' specifications. Byproduct of the seed after the oil has been expelled is high protein meal, which we mostly supply to the dairy and feedlot sectors. We're currently in the process of contracting non-GMO canola, organic canola, and flax for the 2021 crop year. Let's see here. I'm sorry, I got a little lost on this. We're currently crushing about 60 to 70% of our capacity, with the goal of increasing to 100% in late spring, early summer of 2021. We're currently taking delivery of our 2021 production contracts on both the non-GMO canola and the flax. Our non-GMO production contracts for canola are for delivery into our Great Falls facility. We have 3 delivery windows over the course of the crop year with individual pricing for each one of those windows. And those contracts offer Act of God protection on those as well. For our organic canola contracts, that production is also for delivery into Great Falls. It's a buyer's call over the course of the crop year with Act of God protection also offered. And similar on our flax, it's a production contract into Great Falls. It offers Act of God protection, and buyers call deliver over the course of the crop year. Feel free to give me a call or email me. We can discuss in further detail and which one of these or which delivery period might be right for you. If anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to take those or field them now. If not, here's our contact info for our Great Falls office and the plant. You can reach me in the Great Falls office either by phone or email. Any oil inquiries, Andrew Long is in our office. Meal sales, Kent Kuffner, and our president, Dave Loboy. Like to thank Karen and Dale and the PNW Canola Association for allowing Montana Specialty Mills to be part of today's workshop. With that, I'll conclude and pass it over to Viterra.
Thanks, Justin. My name's Charles Green, and I work out of Minneapolis for Viterra. I do the commercial purchasing into the Warden, Washington facility. I'm in constant contact with a person you guys all know probably, which is Daniel Stenbakken, and he's going to take us through some of the market updates in the next presentation.
So I'm Daniel Stenbakken with Viterra. I work out of the Warden, Washington location, do all of the producer direct purchasing into Warden there, and work with growers on growing canola and marketing it into Warden there. So the Warden plant is, like I said, Warden, Washington, which is just south of how do I change there? So the Warden location is in obviously Warden, Washington, which is just south of Moses Lake, in the central part of Washington, as you can see on the map there. Going to start out kind of looking at our old crop, or 2021 cropping season. Kind of looking at one of the main themes that we saw, there was a decrease in carry out, is kind of the big picture that we saw. So when we talk about the decrease in the carry out, that's just showing the supply that we're working with coming in. So one of the parts that we're looking at there is the U.S. carry out stocks. It's expected to be under 100,000 metric tons, which is probably one of the lowest that we've seen here most recently since kind of Viterra's been up and running. When we think about the decrease in carryout in the U.S. stocks, it's not a huge player in portion of the game. You know, everything or a lot of the canola market is really based kind of more of the Canadian centric. So that 100,000 is not really a driver. The bigger portion of that carryout that we're looking at is the Canadian carryout, and they're forecasted to be about 2 million metric tons or less through the end of the season. That's the smallest carryout we've seen, coming off of 5 to 7 in the past year, and kind of in the middle of that 2 years back. What kind of supported that, or where we saw that come from, was obviously we saw a few less acres of canola going in Canada last year, and then a little bit lower than expected yield last year for the Canadian crop. We did lose a little bit of capacity due to COVID at the beginning of 2020 as an industry as a whole, but not a big player there. We saw more exports out of Canada. Those have kind of picked up over the past few years, and keeping that canola moving. We also have seen a very strong demand on the food side of the industry, and then strong demand across all of the oilseed markets, kind of playing into the biofuel standards and some of those kind of regulations we're seeing in Canada, and maybe going to plan on seeing here in the U.S. going forward. On the U.S. crush side, so Warden had one of the best years we've had. We were, the highest crush we've seen was in the last year. Highest crush that plant's ever done has been in the last year. U.S. canola crush has been about, running in 120% of normal for the past 6 months. Now, that's not really saying that the crushers are all crushing 120% of capacity. That's really saying that the more of the crush has been on the canola side versus alternative crushes of what they could be doing. In looking at the looking at these crush schedules and how we're doing on crush, is it going to continue through the summer? Are we going to keep that rate up? It's looking to be probably a strong rate, but maybe not at that 120%. We do come into, with all crush plants, we typically see some pretty good maintenance schedules coming along in the summer before new crop comes up, and that'll probably help rein that crush back a little bit. Like I'd said before, with that crush rate that we're seeing, some of that is attributed to switch plants being able to crush a bit more canola over soybeans, or choosing to crush canola over soybeans where the market has allowed there. Kind of stepping forward into new crop and 2021 harvest. We're probably looking, how much? What do we have coming at us? U.S. acres are forecasted to increase, but there's a lot of unknowns still. Lots of markets have been pretty competitive with canola, so there's a lot of options in different areas. Probably looking at the biggest potential increases are obviously in Washington and Montana. North Dakota increases are possible, but there's a lot of competition for the acre in North Dakota. Growers there have lots of options on what they can grow, and could go a couple different avenues. Obviously, soybean prices have been pretty strong. That's probably one option. But along with some of the other different options they have, spring wheat, legumes, durum, some of those. So it's a little bit unknown, expected to be up, but it seems like North Dakota, which is the main player, is kind of the unknown at this point in time. The Canadian acres, probably looking at a little bit more stronger increase in Canada, 5 to 10%, which sounds like a lot, but that probably kind of puts us back to where they were the year before last, or 2 years ago, back to those levels, with prices and margins looking like they are for the growers on canola sides. We'll probably see those acres increase there in Canada. Excuse me. Looking at kind of our room for growth. So I get a lot of questions on, or can we keep up? Are we going to have enough room? Can we keep crushing more canola for the expanded acres? And looking at in the U.S., there's still plenty of room for growth. We still import as a country around 500,000 metric tons of canola. And in 2020, the U.S. produced in that 1.6 million metric tons of canola. So there's still a lot of room for growth in U.S. production to withstand the crush rates that we've been seeing from U.S. crushers. We would have to see in that, realm of 30% increase in production to offset those exports. And that's a rather large number. We've seen some large growth numbers in the PNW, Washington, Montana, but when you take a 30% number to the amount of acres that's grown in North Dakota, that's a rather large number, and probably not expecting to see that much growth in the nearby. So crush is looking good for the U.S. There's lots of room for more canola to be grown, and we aren't pushing our limits at any point on that. So looking at kind of new crop and kind of some ideas and options for marketing canola coming into the new crop year 2021, 2022. Lots of questions, lots of new growers. Everybody's kind of looking at what to do. The first thing I like to remind guys that we got to think about as a whole is, we tend to think of our growing area and just look at what's going on there, but to remember the seasons, remember what's coming on and what's coming ahead of us, and what we're through at these marketing intervals. our first canola new crop we see comes in the beginning of July. The winter crop's coming off, a lot of non-GMO, some GMO, moving into the crush plant. And there's still a lot of growers that we really aren't thinking of harvest yet, but that's kind of when our harvest starts, and to be thinking of that. Next, we move into the PNW spring harvest. It really kind of rears up the last half of August there. And we get some of that in maybe even before some of the North Dakota, Montana, Minnesota harvest. That's usually in full swing by September and the end of September. And then we move into the Canadian harvest. Tends to be a little bit behind where we're at. And that's coming off September through October in some regions, and typically kind of as late as till when the snow flies up there sometimes. So, when we're wrapping up harvest, we've still got new crop coming off up in Canada, and kind of getting those projections and seeing what these markets are doing. So just always something to keep in the back of your mind as we're marketing that new crop canola. A couple different options we've got this year. It's going to be a little bit different coming in at harvest time. I know we've got a lot of guys used to our NPE, or no price established program. We are not looking at doing that this year. Due to kind of the market conditions that we're seeing and how we've got stuff flowing and whatnot, that's probably not going to be the best fit for guys and stuff. So we're going to probably step back on our MPE contracts and focused on some of our other options to talk about. First one that we most familiar with is our deferred delivery contracts, or our grain purchase agreements. That's the contracts that we've done most of the time, flat price. You lock it in your price, your quantity, and your delivery window. We also offer, and we've got more and more growers taking advantage of, is our target price agreements. With those, you set an offer for a specific delivery window and quantity, and if the market reaches that point, it'll automatically lock that in and contract it for you. So we've had good luck with the volatility in the market of growers using target price agreements and maybe grabbing a little bit higher than what they expected, just with the volatility we've seen. So those are still going to be offered, a good tool for harvest, but until those are triggered, they're not a contract. It's not necessarily holding you a spot or a place for delivery there. So keep an eye on those, use them where they fit and need. Another option that maybe is going to fit a little bit better this year than it has in the past is our basis contracts. With the basis contract, we're going to lock in the basis side of the market, and that's also going to lock in our Canadian exchange in there. So it looks a little bit different on paper, but it's if we get to doing these, I can explain kind of how that's working and what you see there. And with these, they do give you it gives you the flexibility to lock the futures portion in at a later time. A lot of people I talk to daily are pretty bullish on canola and really think that future is going to go. This is an option to kind of lock in that spot for delivery, have part of your risk covered, and see what these futures are going to do. The futures can be locked in incrementally. We don't have to do the whole contract at once. We can price up futures at different times and get that contract fully priced by the time we get to harvest or further out if we see a fit for it. So with that, a new kind of portion of the basis contract that we're looking to offer, hoping to have a program for here, is the target net price. Target net price is really kind of a mix between a basis contract and our target price agreement. You would set your lock in your basis, and you'd have that secured, and then you could set that target net price, which is going to automatically monitor the futures portion and price it up as the market hits those points. So this could be a pretty good option for guys coming in harvest. We can get that basis portion locked and then start doing these through the season as we're more and more comfortable with the crop and our production that we see coming. As always, spot loads, they're going to be spot loads delivered. We're going to be priced for that market value for that day. And spot pricing is always going to be subject to availability. So as we get fuller, as we have a spot for it, we may see that spot price go away, or we may see it come back there where we need. So spot price is, you got a little bit of risk just on quantity, what we see coming in and how much you got there. little bit different for delivery or a little bit we've started to work with is we're trying to kind of get schedules in for delivery. We're going to try to continue this through harvest. So with these, we like to see, growers calling ahead. You'll see a contact on my email for Michael. He's taking care of that, or myself, on what you expect to have coming in at harvest. So we can see the flows, and ultimately the goal in these schedule and deliveries is not to make it hard on you guys and hard on the producers to get stuff in, but so that we know what's coming and we can better serve. We can see when our high load days are going to be, and maybe have some extra help there or expand hours when needed, so we can do that. Like I've said the whole time, the delivery numbers are not a hard stop, but they are. We're really pushing guys to have those in ahead of time. So we'll to get those here on this slide, we've got my email address and phone number. For any questions as far as contracting, forward contracting, new crop, getting accounts set up, feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email, and we can work on getting those things set up and ready to go. And looking forward to a big year in canola, and hopefully seeing more and more new faces and talking to more guys. Like I said, feel free to call, email with any questions. And I wanted to make sure and thank the Canola Association for putting this together, giving us a chance to get in front of guys. It's kind of been a tough year to get out and see people and do some of these, but hopefully you guys gain something from this, and look forward to getting back in person to some of these meetings and field tours in the future. So thank you guys. And I think we'll have questions after this.
All right, thanks, Daniel and Justin and Red. Do you guys have any questions? Put them in the Q&A. And any questions from the panelists to the marketing group?
Yeah, I've got a question for Red and Daniel. So I see you guys don't have any bids out until June now. I'm assuming that's just because your crush is full and booked up, but basis seems relatively strong that far out, given the rally in futures that we've seen. Is that just a function of currency and trying to get that locked in, or a reflection of the supply and demand situation being, somewhat tight?
Yeah, I think one of the things over the summer, that basis will remain strong, or has remained strong, in spite of the nearby bids going away or being at a carry. And I think that's a function of futures rallying as far as staying full in the nearby. I think the seasonality has probably got the biggest factor at play for that. There's a lot of growers that are picking up bags in North Dakota, moving supplies over the course of the winter. They're getting into the fields in April, May. And so their marketing plans kind of stretch through Jan, Feb, March. And then they go kind of into April, May to pick things up. But the summer months are always kind of a scarcity as far as seed is concerned. And I think that's a seasonality issue. I would say the ending stocks do play a factor, because we are going to be tight going from old crop to new crop. And so we'll see where the basis goes from here. But at this time, it's definitely seasonality. Daniel, if you want to answer the chat, there's a question in the chat.
I gotta be quicker on unmuting there. Sorry. Yeah. So Nathan had asked in the chat here. He's heard from farmers that delivering to Warden at the elevator guys or staff there go on lunch, and no trucks are dumped at that time. At this point, the guys don't have a set lunch. Excuse me. There shouldn't be a time when we can't dump trucks during the day. Sometimes, and one of the things that we're using that load scheduler is, when we get, there's days in the winter, the off season, that we get 4 trucks a day. And there's times that the guys aren't sitting at that pit ready to dump trucks. And that's where, when we have that scheduler and we start to know what we're coming against, we shouldn't hit those hiccups as often, and have that. But, typically, and what we've seen this year is a lot more fluid. We've been pretty consistent with trucks throughout the year. There shouldn't be times where the guys aren't back there paying attention. And by all means, if there's any time when you show up and there's nobody, I field a lot of calls, and I don't mind doing it, just tracking down, saying, hey, we're back at the pit. We've been here for 15 minutes, or, feel free to call me and let me know so I can kind of find out what's happening there. I'm not at the plant every single day, so I don't see it all the time. So never hurts to give me a call and let me know what's up there.